Many people have a hard time finding truth of the Bible. But the truth is that the Holy Bible that we have is wisdom beyond our carnal understanding. But one thing that cannot be disputed, is that we finally evolved to a place where we are always learning and never able to come to the knowledge of truth. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Freddie Cooks International Soul Food. Today, I am actually here finally with some soul food that I prepared just for us. Today, we're having a dinner conversation, so come on in. It is 17 degrees outside, so I can safely say that winter have arrived here in the South. Now, I know that the birds normally fly south for the winter, and I am in the South, and it's still 17 degrees, not far enough. So I think I need to go a little bit further because 17 degrees, and they say it feels like 2 degrees outside. That's beyond my tolerance. So today, like I said, we are having a dinner conversation. I got quite a bit of I've got quite a bit of information, quite a bit of material, things to discuss with you. Let's just go ahead and get started. I'm going to say grace, and then we can talk about it. Lord, thank you for this food that I'm about to receive. God, I ask that you bless and purify, that it does my body no harm. I thank you for provision. Lord, I ask that you forgive me for all of my sins and everything that I've done outside of your will. I recognize that I've fallen short of the things that you have planned for me, but I'm thankful that you are faithful, that you are gracious enough to forgive me. I also ask, Lord, that you prepare the hearts and the minds of the listeners as I begin to share the things that you've shared with me. So I thank you for the wisdom, the understanding, and the knowledge that you've given me that I may share with others. Lord, I ask that you bless someone on this channel that hears, that they may be able to receive your truth and hear your voice, to live according to your will and to your way. Lord, I thank you. You said that if you be lifted up, God, that you will draw all men unto you. And I lift up the name of Jesus. In the name of Jesus, I pray. I do thank you, give you praise, give you glory. Amen. All right. So, like I said, today we are having a dinner conversation. This are the conversations about the truth of eternity. I didn't tell you what I had today. It's 11 o'clock. It's 11 o'clock. And I did not expect to be up this late eating. As a matter of fact, let me just tell you what I got. Here I have some candied yams, and yes, they are candied. You see the juice there? You see the juice there? Very good. I have some macaroni salad. I have some baked chicken that's been basted to perfection in its own juices. I have some crackling cornbread, a crackling cornbread muffin, and I have some collard greens. Although it came out of the can, I made them my own, and my food is a little, oh my gosh, my food has been sitting, waiting on me. I've been doing some of everything, trying to take pictures, trying to get it set up. And now my food has gotten a little cool on me, and I like my food piping hot. And I have my salad on this plate, so I can't put it in the microwave. I just have to eat it the way it is. I also will be posting, I don't know which is going to come first. Probably I'll do the dinner conversation first and then the cooking video of me preparing all of this. So if you are interested in learning how to prepare or watching me prepare this delicious soul food meal, I would encourage you and invite you to check out this video of me preparing this. That's good. How are you all doing out there? I hope you're doing well. Hope you're staying warm as hard as it may be. Y'all, it's cold. Unexpectedly cold here in Mississippi. I was just bragging like last week. Last week, I was just bragging when people up north were saying they had like it was 20 degrees. I was even online with people from, I don't even know what countries they were from, but they were saying there was like in the negative numbers. I don't even understand that type of cold weather. But it was like 73 degrees here in Mississippi just last week. No lie. It was literally sunshine and 73 degrees. Today, my heat's been kicking off and on, and I just don't like to turn it up too high. I think I have it like at 71. I don't want it to be hot in here. But I can definitely tell it's cold outside and I'm not even out there. The governor of Mississippi ordered a curfew of 5 p.m. because of the iciness on the roads. Like ice started to form here like around 11ish, like earlier today. So we got a curfew, 5 o'clock. Although I'm not trying to be out there anyways. Not in that cold. Crackling cornbread. There's the crackling. The video, I didn't show myself making this on the video. Only a few clips because I already have videos of me making crackling cornbread and the greens. But check it out anyways. Check out the video. Candy yams are being made. The macaroni salad, which is delicious, and the chicken. My greens are already gone. Everything else was so good, I haven't even touched my chicken. And I don't want to get too much to where I can't finish, but I do need just a little more greens. I'm going to be right back. I'm going to get some more greens and I'll be back, y'all. Okay, I am back. Oh, everything is so delicious. Oh my gosh, I can't. Oh, you can taste it through the screen. Maybe I'll go ahead and get started with the conversation today. We're going to continue talking about the truth. That's going to remain the overall subject of the dinner conversations. Encouraging everyone to seek the absolute truth, because there is an absolute truth. Although many people find their own versions or perception, an idea of what the truth is, but that doesn't make it truth. Just a whole bunch of ideas, a whole bunch of random thoughts. But as I've said before, and I'll continue to say, at some point, we can get so far from the truth to where it's not true anymore. And if we're not careful to observe and to love the truth, we will be swept away and caught up in a delusion. That was the last thought that I gave in my previous dinner conversation. And so we're going to continue with that. So, tengo una pregunta para ti. I've got a question for you. Are you a man or are you a woman? Well, let me ask it like this. Are you male or are you female? Do you know the answer to that question? Now, I'm only 41 years old. By no stretch of imagination would I think that is old. I didn't consider that to be old. But when I was in school, when I was growing up, I knew the difference between a man and a woman. And I knew that I was a male. I always knew it. Say always, but it's early enough for me to understand whatever the age that is. I knew that. And at one time in history, it was a no-brainer. Anybody can tell. But nowadays, that's a controversial question. There was a study done at a university, and I want to share this with you. This guy asked college students, what was the question? And I'm going to be looking down at my notes here because I wrote some notes so I don't forget and to keep me on task because I don't want to make this super long. I want to try to get through everything. Is there a difference between a man and a woman? Was one of the questions that he asked. And one of the answers given was, if you think you're a man, you're a man. If you think you're a woman, you're a woman. So the question is, are there any differences between a man and a woman? College students could not answer that question. College students on the campus had a hard time answering that question. Is there a difference between a man and a woman? And we've become so obsessed with equality, and we continue to learn with our smart selves that we can't even answer a basic question. One man said it's only a product of a social construct. But the question is there a difference between a man and a woman? I'm drinking ginger ale. Check ginger ale, by the way. Product of Winn-Dixie. And it's good. And this chicken is great. So, I'm here to share how our society has already not only been demoralized and being deceived more and more each day, to the point to where if we can't tell the difference between a man and a woman, then God help us, really. We can't even get the basics right anymore. While I eat, watch this.
Is there a difference in your mind between men and women?
No, yes. I mean, possibly. In general, yes. But I don't know why I think that.
Socially, currently, yes, there is. There is no need for that difference to exist, scientifically and logically.
If you think that you're a male, if you think that you're a female, that matters more than the biological difference.
There's not much difference besides what society forces onto people. And how do you know the difference between men and women?
By what people think they are. So you can't, like, judge someone just on, like, their looks.
I don't think there's any one way to really distinguish between a man or a woman, and I don't think it's necessary.
It's not always consistent. It has a high probability, like 98% of the time I can get it right. There is some ambiguity.
I think, yeah, there are ways to tell, but then again, you can always be wrong.
What would you say I am?
Just judging off of your looks, I would say that you're a male. I would probably assume a man, but then you never know. A male.
Why would you say that?
Based on how I look at you.
Do you think that's a problem?
Yeah, probably.
Do you think the difference between men and women matters for any reason?
No, not really.
I think most sociologists agree that the concept of gender is more of a societal construct.
I do think it matters somewhat, yeah.
To me, no. I don't feel as if it matters to me because at the end of the day, the person is just a person.
No, I don't think it should matter.
And the differences on a social level are simply a product of a biased society.
Then is there a reason to have those labels, male or female?
I don't think so. I think that it's, again, a social construct of this binary that we're given at birth. There is kind of a difference, but at the same time, if someone wants to identify as one or both or as nothing, I also find that completely okay. And
there may be nothing more self-evident in the natural universe than the fact that every animal species is divided into two halves, male and female. Yet the most intelligent of those species seems to be wrestling with whether male or female are actually real things. Have we discovered something new, or have we become too clever for our own good?
Sometimes when I call a lady sir by accident, they get very offended.
This video is courtesy of Family Policy Institute of Washington. So verily, verily, what I'm saying to you, if we can't even know or feel secure to know the difference between a man and a woman, and I know what it is, a lot of people don't want to judge or don't want to offend, but if we can't even determine between a male and a female, which are naturally occurring in nature, it's the order of life, and it can't be disputed because it's copied throughout the entire animal, well, I say the entire, but throughout the animal kingdom, male and female produces offspring. it is what it is. Some people may not like it, but it is what it is. It's an order of life. Now, if we can't distinguish, if we can't determine, if we can't identify with the truth between what's male and what's female, then how in the world can we determine what's true and what's false? And then there's so much deception now to where people will even argue that there is no such thing as true or false. And that's how the world is being deceived. And that, my friends, is another reason why, as I've spoken about in my previous dinner conversations, is why we need to come out of Babylon, come out of the way of thinking that is taking the world by storm. It's deception, it's delusion, and it's getting worse, and it's going to overthrow your faith. It's going to overthrow your understanding of everything. If you follow this way of thinking, if you follow where the world is headed. Now, So let's talk about the Bible and the truth of the Bible, which is controversial. I realize that. And a lot of us don't like to spend time talking or focusing or thinking about controversial things. And that's another way that we're able to be deceived, because if we don't spend time thinking about these things, then we just go with the flow. And every wind that comes that's how we blow, and that's how we go. Let's talk about the Bible. And many people get offended when talking about the Bible. And religion in general offends people. And I understand, because people don't want to offend other people. And so we come up with our own doctrine and our own way to include everybody. And we make up stuff that we don't really know, but we say stuff like everybody is right. And so either is everybody going to heaven, or is there not even a such thing as heaven? Or when we leave here, is that it? Or do we just don't know? Well, these are all questions that actually need to be answered, because while we are here, we have an opportunity to find and come to the knowledge of truth. But when we are not here, we have no more seeking and searching. It is, and it's going to be what it is. But we don't want to get to that point and say, maybe I should have. It's going to be too late. This is not a conversation to convict anybody. This is just to make us think, because one thing for sure is that we live and we are definitely going to die. Although we don't like to think about death, it happens. There are hundreds of thousands of people who, before the pandemic came, and I know this is a sensitive topic, but it is what it is. There are people who did not expect to die from a pandemic that they didn't even know was coming, but it happened. And so I'm saying that reality is going to hit everyone, which is death. One day. And it's like out of sight, out of mind. If we don't think about it, we don't have to worry about it. But at one day, it's coming. And we need to have some insurance on our life. We get insurance on our cars and on our house. We don't get insurance because we think something's going to happen. We get insurance in case something happens. We get insurance because we don't go around expecting to have an accident. But in the chance that there is an accident, we are covered. And we don't have to say, oh, if we have an accident or if our house flood or whatever, we have insurance on. So we need to have some assurance that when we die, because it will happen, that we are in a good place and space. So how can we know the truth? And what is the truth? Well, let's talk about the Bible. Now, the Bible is especially offensive. Why is that? You can be any other religion or part of any group, but the Bible is especially offensive. There are many reasons for that. But before we talk about that, let's talk about self-awareness again. And who has it and who doesn't. And there's a reason I want to talk about self-awareness. Self-awareness, being able to discern or decipher your own feelings. Are you self-aware? Studies show that only 10 to 15% of the entire population are truly self-aware. Or 85 to 90% of the people are not truly self-aware. At the same time, 85 to 90% of the population believes they are self-aware. So what this shows is the possibility, like the likelihood, that people are deceived. And that it's easy for people to be deceived. That is because there's a lack of self-awareness. Lack of self-awareness, that means you lack self-reflection. Because in order to be self-aware, you have to self-reflect. But there's a reason why people don't self-reflect. Self-reflection means you have to look in the mirror. And these days, we have been trained, we have been conditioned to wear masks and to wear makeup. And I'm not necessarily talking about literal makeup, but we hide ourselves from ourselves. We hide our own feelings from ourselves so we can't deal with the truth. You can't be self-aware, self-reflect, if you're living a lie or hiding from yourself. Now, why did I bring that up? And I said we're going to talk about the Bible. Brought it up because the Bible is offensive to people who don't want to see themselves. It's offensive to people who don't want to be wrong. It's offensive to people who can't bear the thought that there is or there are consequences for our actions. People in general are not accountable for their ways or our actions. We don't want to like to admit when we're wrong or admit that we are wrong. Y'all, this was a half a chicken. It was so good. Sorry. And so when we read the Bible, certain things are just not flattering. And so instead of accepting or looking into, reading into, self-reflecting, we reject. Now that is a natural defense. We do it all the time. When we don't want to see the truth, when we don't want to know the truth, when we don't want to hear the truth, we deflect, we deny, we lash out at others, and we need to be self-aware enough to know when we are deflecting, when we are denying and running from the truth. If you're self-aware, you can recognize and say, oh, I'm doing that. I'm doing this. But if you're not self-aware, you're not going to even consider it or think about it. When the pandemic first hit, everybody was quarantined, couldn't go nowhere, cooped up in the house. So many people was going to go crazy. They thought they was going crazy. Some people probably did go crazy. Didn't know what to do with themselves. There was an opportunity to self-reflect, where we were not distracted with the things of the outside. So it was an opportunity to be grounded and just confronted with your own self. Some people don't even like to hear themselves think. So that's like torture. But it was an opportunity for us to self-reflect. Now, let's talk about the Bible and the truth of the Bible. And I'm not here to debate right now to talk about truth. How do we know it's true? That's going to be a different video. The Bible does mention that the Bible is the inspired word of God. God being an all-wise, uncreated, very intelligent. Intelligent is an understatement. Wise enough to get the truth. So this ain't the video to discuss whether it's true or not. We're just going to talk about it. A lot of people don't believe the Bible because they don't understand it. And today is really what I want to discuss of how to understand the Bible just a little bit. Because there are two separate portions of the Bible. And many of you who are out there may already know this, and maybe not. But I want to share, context makes a difference. So when we read something and out of context, it may not make sense, and we may have a wrong understanding, a wrong interpretation. So, difference is that they are two separate portions. There's the Old Testament and the New Testament. The Old Testament dealt with the nation of Israel. And by the way, everything in the Old Testament is basically history. All of those places exist, even now. Israel, Egypt, Ethiopia, Damascus. Did I say Egypt? I probably said Egypt, and Kadesh Barnea. What is it? Kadesh Barnea. Yeah, I think that's what it is. And all of those places over in Israel, the Mediterranean, all of those areas, all the things in the Middle East, it was Arab, Arabia, Iraq, excuse me. The landmarks are there. So what's coming among the Jewish, the Muslim, and the quote-unquote Christian faith is the Old Testament. That they can pretty much agree on the Old Testament and the forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. All agree because it's history, and it's not something that is he said, she said. This has been passed down from generation to generation. So it's only people that can say that it's not real is people who don't want it to be real. And there are people who just don't want it to be real, because then we have to be accountable. We're not accountable people. And this picks up from dinner conversation number 11. It was the commandments of God. And we talked about the Old Testament commandments. They were for Israel. They were to give, basically, it's a mirror. It's letting us know what sin is, what unrighteousness is. Now, there's so much to discuss, and I'm not getting into the nitty-gritty. But what I am getting to, part 2, this was part 2 of the Commandments of God video. It was dinner conversation 11. The New Testament, we have a new covenant that God made with his people. We are all God's people. We are all sons. Well, I don't want to say sons of God, because we have to come into fellowship with him to be called sons of God. But God created us mankind in his image, meaning that we have the characteristics of God. Many people have their own idea who God is. But is God who you say he is, or is he who he is? Is he who he say he is? Many people have this idea that God is love, 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 love. God is love, love, love. But how do you know that? Where did you get this? Where did you get that from? Did you get that from the Bible? Because the Bible talks about the love of God. If you didn't get that from the Bible, where did you get it from, and how do you know he is love? And how do you know who he is? There are not people who take the Bible and pull out the stuff that they like and leave the stuff that they don't like. So, are we really walking in truth when we do that? Because yes, God is love, but God is also a God of wrath. So what are the commandments of God? These days, in the New Testament, it really is the exact same thing that the Old Testament was trying to tell us. And it is about love. It's about loving our neighbors as ourselves. Love God first with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. And love your neighbor as yourself. Those are the two commandments. The commandments that Jesus gave. Which comes from the Old Testament. The importance of these two, if you can look at these two commandments, it goes back to the 10 Commandments. The problem is, are we self-aware to know when we are not loving our neighbors? And do we have interpersonal awareness to know when we are mistreating our neighbors? Now, there's many people who don't have self-awareness. And so if you don't have self-awareness, the question is, do you have interpersonal awareness to know how you are affecting others and how others around you are being affected? Do you have interpersonal awareness enough to know when people around you are affected emotionally or being affected emotionally? Some people don't have interpersonal awareness because some people just don't care about the other person. And the other person is your neighbor. It's that person who walks beside you every day, walk past you, walk by you. You may not even know them, but they are a human being, another person made in God's image. But we've become so selfish, and with our self-ambition, with jealousy and pride and malice in our hearts towards, and that's not everybody, but there are people walking around with this stuff, and we are so prideful. There are many different shades of pride, and that pride prevents us from even catering. I say catering, but just even being able to speak to the person that walks by you. Now, from what I hear, I'm just talking about what I heard. We don't believe what we hear, or we've already talked about that. But if I heard that up north, somewhere up there, that people just walk by you and if you speak to them, they just look at you like you're crazy. As a Southerner who goes to New York, I heard that people are culture shocked because they speak and don't get spoken back to. People are so fixated on their own lives. And it seemed like such an easy thing to do. Love your neighbor as yourself. But there's so many distractions in this world to where we don't really love our neighbors as we think we are. And how do you love somebody that you never met? It's being able to be compassionate, to be able to put yourself in someone else's shoes. We are all human. We all need the exact same thing to live. We all have the same basic needs. We need food, we need shelter, and we need clothing. And so being able to relate to people should give us a way in to love another person just because they are just like us. Being able to relate allows us to have relationships. And I don't mean romantic relationships. I just mean being able to have a relationship with someone, to communicate, to fellowship. I touched on all that I really want to touch on. I don't want to get too deep. And I say that every time, but we just have to go little bit by little bit. Because I really did want to talk about more of deception. And it came up a little bit when we talked about how not being able to tell the difference between a man and a woman. And this society now just not able to know the difference. We'll talk more about the deception of it all. And the reason I'm really bringing this up is because, as I've stated before, and I keep saying it, I want to continue to say that we are in a new age. and deception is going to be rampant. And we're reached a point to where we have to know the truth, or it's going to be hard to know it. We are living within the pages of the Bible. I'm done with that. I ate pretty much. I mean, it was good, but I started talking. I have to eat that later. I did pretty good though here. Ooh. And I encourage you all, whoever you are, if you have not read the Bible, or even picked up a Bible, here's where I encourage you to start at the New Testament. At least the New Testament. Starting at Matthew, the New Testament is after the birth of Christ. We will talk about the implications of Christ. It's coming up. But you read for yourself. I encourage you. You can't know if the Bible is real and what's real. You can't say that it's not real if you have not even read you for yourself. And even people who go to church and confess salvation, if you don't know your Bible, you're just going to church. Church does not save people. It's just a form of religion. Church is just a religious act if you don't read the Bible, because you don't know what's in the Bible. You only know what somebody tells you. So do you really have a relationship with God? Your own relationship, or do you have a relationship through somebody else's relationship? It's important for you to read and know the Bible. Read and know for yourself so that you can decide for yourself. Because at the end of the day, everyone has a choice to make. And at the end of the day, everybody's not going to make the choice. But we all have a chance and a choice right now. There's not going to be no redos. We don't want to get to the other side of life and say, it's going to be too late. This is not to scare anyone. This is to encourage. Read for yourself, because we have truth right in front of us. And no one is going to have an excuse. Start at Matthew, definitely Matthew, and continue. Matthew, Mark, and Luke are all witnesses of the same accounts of Jesus. The reason I am encouraging you to read, because there are so many things that are occurring right now, and you're not able to recognize it if you don't have any reference. But the deception that's coming, it's been spoken about, and I'm seeing it right before our eyes. Everything that's happening right now is just, man, it's mind-blowing. So I want to read something, and this is the age that we're living in right now. Jesus was speaking to his disciples, and they asked him, what did they ask him? And what will be the sign of your coming and the end of the age? And I'll pause right there, because there's something else to understand of what the end of the age is. And when people hear the end of the world, it's like, oh, scary, scary, what's happening? The end of the world is the end and nothing else. But the end is just the beginning. Can't go there right now. Just know that the end is not the end. Eternity is forever. Excuse me. And Jesus said to them, okay, so The disciples asked him, "And what will be the sign of your coming and the end of the age?" And Jesus answered and said to them, "Take heed that no one deceive you." He said it a couple of times. Take heed that no one deceive you. For many will come in my name, saying, "I am the Christ," and will deceive many. Now that has already happened several times throughout history. And if you're too young to remember the people drinking the Kool-Aid, who was that? Was it? It wasn't Jim. Was it Jim Jones? Yeah, it was Jim Jones. If you're too young to remember that, I'm too young to remember that, but I read about it. Many will come in my name, saying, "I am the Christ," and will deceive many. And you will hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you are not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. Now, we've already been hearing of wars and rumors of world wars. That's been happening. That was happening even in the Bible after the death of Jesus. It started wars and rumors of wars, and it's happened before our generation. For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there will be famines, pestilences, and earthquakes in various places. Famines, pestilences, and earthquakes. Pestilence are like diseases, different types of just nuisance diseases and plagues. All these are the beginning of sorrows. This is stuff that has been going on forever before we got here. And here we are. And because lawlessness will abound, the love of many will grow cold, but he who endures to the end shall be saved. There's a lot we have to endure. We're talking about that now. Let's just go right into it. Now, I'm reading from Matthew 24. Definitely start at number 1 and keep on reading to the end of Matthew. Find it. This is Matthew 24, 4 through 14, but I'm about to start at the 21st verse. For then there will be great tribulation, such as has not been since beginning of the world until this time. No, nor ever shall be. So now there's going to be tribulation like there's never been ever seen before, nor will be. You think about all the things that has happened in our history. Think about the Holocaust. Think about Pearl Harbor. Think about just so much that's happened. Then think about how horrible that would be. And I know it's not something that you want to think about, but in keeping this in context, then it's good to be prepared. We talk about the pandemic. You don't want to think about it, but it came and it was reality. The thing is that there is safety. You know, I want to just throw that out there now because I don't want to get everybody spooky and scared. That if you're not aware, or if you don't understand or haven't read or been made aware of these things, but you don't know what the safety is. You don't know what to expect if you haven't read, if you don't understand, if you're just holding on to your own made up imagination of whatever you will leave. And unless those days were shortened, no flesh would be saved, but for the elect's sake, those days will be shortened. Then if anyone says, "Look here, there's the Christ," "Look there, there's the Christ," don't believe it. For false Christs and false prophets will arise and show great signs and wonders, so as to deceive, if possible, even the elect. Let me read that again. For false Christs and false prophets will arise and show great signs and wonders, so as to deceive, if possible, even the elect. We're talking about delusions and deception so strong that even those who have an understanding of the Bible, if it was even possible, even these people can be deceived, if it was possible. Delusion so strong. Let's stop there. I'm already at the end. My camera is getting really full right now, but this is just more encouragement to seek the truth, seek after the truth, and we have truth. Again, I don't want to convince anybody, but I do want to encourage everybody. You have to start reading. Start with what we already have. And if you are offended by the Bible, ask yourself, why are you offended? And deal with that. Because if you are offended by the Bible, then there's something in you that's keeping you from it, and it's not based on truth. It's based on something. You need to figure that out, because like I said, we are all responsible for the truth, and there's not going to be any excuses. We're entering a time to where we have to be sound and grounded with a foundation of truth. And as I've pointed out and continue to point out, the way people are being deceived, and where we're in a society now that nobody knows what's what, and it's everything goes and everything is okay, and nothing is bad, and bad is good and good is bad. We're being conditioned to reject the truth and accept lies. It's flipped. Everything is being reversed, and it's being flipped so that we can accept the deception that is coming, and it's not by chance. That's it for today's dinner conversation. I hope you followed me, and I hope some of this made sense. I really have to read it, to watch it back to really see. It makes sense to me, but I really truly encourage you. And I do this because I love you, all of you out there, sincerely. I've been given understanding and knowledge about certain things, and it's just hard for me to see people just being deceived and going astray. I'm not gonna keep rambling on. Thank you for watching. I love you for watching. I come on here and I make these videos, and you're watching me and you're listening to me, but use your time wisely. Get some time. And I'm even speaking to myself, because I don't read as much anymore as I used to, and not just as I used to, as I need to. And so make a covenant with your own self to do more, to search and seek out the truth, to read. You don't have to do a marathon. You don't have to read a whole chapter or 2 or 3 or 5 chapters. Make a covenant with yourself that you're going to read a little bit every day or every 3 days. However you need to do it to achieve it. But start with Matthew, continue to the entire, you read. Okay, guys, my camera said, no more. So I'm going to end it here. But I thank you so much. I thank you for being here with me here at Freddie Cook's International Soul Food. I hope you enjoyed today's dinner conversation. And I love you so much just for being you. God loves you more specifically, Jesus loves you more than you can even comprehend. But he wants you to be in the truth. I'll see you next time. See you very soon. Goodbye.